Welcome, shinobi. You've stepped into the world of Naruto Narrator.
That's right. We're so glad you're here. If you're a fan of the Naruto and Boruto universe, eager to dive deeper than ever before, you found your home.
Here, we don't just explain the lore, we immerse ourselves in it. Prepare to journey through the intricate tapestry of the shinobi world, exploring profound character deep dives, unraveling hidden Naruto lore explained, and dissecting the most compelling fan theories.
And it's not just about listening. We're building a community where your insights matter. We'll explore thrilling what-if scenarios and spark thought-provoking discussions together. This is your chance to truly engage with the stories you love.
So, settle in. Our first narrative is about to begin.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a story. Join the Naruto Narrator family, and let's explore the endless possibilities of this incredible universe together.
In a land where every gaze turns skyward, the village's very existence is defined by the mountain of legends. It isn't just rock, it's the beating heart of their history, a sentinel of stone that catches the first light of dawn and holds the last rays of sunset. Its sheer face, an impossibly vast canvas, is etched with the faces of protectors, 4 men whose legends have been whispered for generations. The wind whistles through the crevices of their eyes, sounding like a silent, mournful judgment that reminds all below that peace is not a gift from the heavens, but a heavy cloak paid for with sacrifice. Their carved expressions are not of serene victory, but of grim, determined resolve, as if they are still carrying the weight of the village on their petrified shoulders. Every child learns their names, tracing the hard lines of their faces with small, reverent fingers, knowing that these stone heroes are the very reason their world stands. Among them, one figure remains a shadow etched in memory and stone. He was the village's final protector, a living resemblance to the glory carved on that mountain, a figure that stood above the village, alone on the very face that would one day be his monument. They called him the 4th Hokage. He was facing a calamity too great for words, a maelstrom of hatred in the form of a monstrous fox. Its fur, a vibrant, terrifying orange, seemed to burn against the night sky, each of its 9 colossal tails capable of leveling a mountain. Its roar was a blight upon the earth, a deafening sound that drowned out the terrified screams of the people below, the suffering cries from Konoha's very heart. The sky itself seemed to bleed from its fury, reflecting the chaos it unleashed. And then the hero came. A flash of pure white, his cape snapping in the maelstrom's wind, a solitary beacon against the overwhelming darkness. He vanished into the tempest, not in a blaze of glory, but in a final, world-altering whisper. They say he fought until his very soul was extinguished, a last act of desperation that sealed the beast's chaotic power into the fragile, innocent body of a newborn child. Then he was gone. His name was buried with him, a forgotten echo of sacrifice. Only his carved stone face remains, a monument to a life given entirely for the sake of others. But this story isn't about him. Not entirely. It's about the shadows that his greatness cast. It's about the echoes of that night and the lives shaped by its aftermath.
And we who tell this tale are part of those echoes. We won't mention our names, but know this: we are from the future of this very story, descendants 2 generations removed from the events you are about to hear. Our separate grandparents, whose lives were woven into this history, passed these tales down to us. If there are inconsistencies with the atmosphere you remember, or details that feel different, blame it on history. Blame it on how they told us it went, how the emotions of the past colored the retelling. But know that the core truth, the heart of their journey, remains.
And as you listen, perhaps you'll speculate. From which village do our lineages descend? What bonds connect us to these legends? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. For now, let us begin. In the heart of Konoha, the Hidden Leaf Village, where the scent of fresh-cut grass often mingled with the distant clang of training kunai, lived a boy named Naruto. He was 12 years old, with hair the color of sun-ripened wheat and eyes as blue as a summer sky. Yet, for all his vibrant appearance, he moved through the village like a ghost. The sounds of daily life, the warmth of human connection, seemed to exist just beyond his reach. He heard the whispers, always, a low, disapproving murmur that followed him like a shadow. "Stay away from him," a mother's hushed tone. "That boy, he's trouble," a father's gruff warning. These were not shouts, not direct confrontations, but a constant, chilling undercurrent of avoidance. Shopkeepers would turn their backs, children would scatter, leaving him in a sudden, echoing silence. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a cold, invisible wall built by fear and misunderstanding. He was not just ignored, he was actively, subtly shunned. And so, he sought attention in the only way he knew how. Not with quiet pleas, but with a defiant, boisterous roar. This morning, his canvas was the very face of history. The colossal Hokage rock, carved with the stern, revered visages of the village's past leaders. Up its sheer, rough-hewn face, he scrambled, a small, determined figure against the vast stone. The spray paint hissed, a vibrant, almost mocking sound, as he defaced the fourth Hokage's noble brow with a garish, bright orange. His heart pounded, not just from the climb, but from a desperate, aching hope. This would make them look. This would make them acknowledge his existence, even if it was with anger. Bad attention, he'd learned, was better than no attention at all. The vibrant orange, the shocking pink, the electric blue, colors that screamed for recognition against the stoic gray stone. He finished his masterpiece, a final defiant flourish, and then a sudden, sharp voice cut through the morning. "Naruto!" It was Iruka-sensei, his teacher. His voice, a familiar mix of exasperation and a weariness that Naruto couldn't yet understand, was the only one that ever truly seemed to reach him. The heavy, deliberate footsteps of Iruka-sensei approached, a sound that always meant trouble, but also, strangely, a fleeting sense of being seen. For a boy who felt invisible, even a reprimand was a form of connection. A cold comfort, perhaps, but a comfort nonetheless.
The weight of failure.
The air in the Ninja Academy classroom was thick with a tension far heavier than any kunai. Today was the graduation exam, the final hurdle to becoming a genin, a true ninja. For most of the 12-year-olds gathered, it was a moment of focused determination. But for Naruto, it was another familiar stage for his recurring nightmare. He sat amidst his peers, yet utterly apart. His bright, almost defiant orange jacket, a splash of raw color, made him stand out starkly against the more subdued, practical attire of the other students. It was as if he wore his yearning for attention on his very back. Around him, the room was a painting piece of budding talent and quiet ambition. There was Sasuke Uchiha, a dark-haired boy with eyes like polished obsidian, whose every movement, even the way he held his pen, exuded a quiet, almost arrogant competence. He sat with an effortless grace, a natural prodigy who seemed to master every technique with ease. And nearby, Sakura Haruno, her pink hair a vibrant contrast to her focused expression, her pen moving with swift, intelligent precision. She was sharp, quick-witted, and already a top student in the academy. The task was simple, yet for Naruto, insurmountable. The clone jutsu, a basic technique meant to create a mere illusionary duplicate of oneself. He had failed it twice before, and now, as his turn came, the familiar knot of dread tightened in his stomach. He channeled his chakra, focused his will, and with a strained grunt of effort, he tried, and failed. Again. The sound of his pathetic, dissipating clone was a whisper of his own inadequacy. He glanced around, a quick, furtive movement. No one was looking. No one ever truly looked. In the silence that followed his failure, a strange, almost desperate grin spread across his face. It was a mask, a reflex. A wide, toothy smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, as if he didn't know how else to react to the crushing weight of sitting alone, unseen, unheard, in the quiet aftermath of his own disappointment.
Iruka, voice, firm but with a hint of weariness. Naruto Uzumaki. Failed.
Another failure, another step further from the recognition he craved, the dream of becoming Hokage, of having his face carved into that mountain, felt impossibly distant.
A glimmer of hope, maybe?
The sting of failure was a familiar companion for Naruto. It clung to him like the dust from a forgotten road, heavy and inescapable. He walked not towards home, for what home truly welcomed him, but towards a solitary comfort, a worn wooden swing hanging from a sturdy tree branch in a quiet, overlooked corner of the village. This swing, it was his sanctuary, his silent witness. Here he could sit, suspended between the earth and the sky, watching other children play, their joyful shouts and carefree giggles a constant, painful reminder of the world he was excluded from. His small, orange-clad figure, so bright and defiant, was a stark contrast to the muted greens and browns of the tree, a splash of color in a world that seemed determined to render him invisible. He sat, shoulders slumped, the familiar grin absent from his face, replaced by a quiet, aching emptiness. He didn't know how to react to this silence, this profound loneliness, except to endure it.
Suddenly approaching. Voice. Smooth, almost too friendly, with a subtle, unsettling undertone. Tough break, Naruto. I know how much you wanted to graduate.
It was Mizuki, another academy instructor. Unlike Iruka-sensei's gruff honesty, Mizuki's voice was like a balm, soft and understanding, a rare kindness offered to the boy. He spoke of a second chance, a secret test, a way to prove himself. He spoke of the forbidden scroll, hidden in the third Hokage's office, a scroll filled with secret ninjutsu, powerful techniques that could instantly elevate a ninja. The words were a siren's call to Naruto's desperate heart. This was it. This was the shortcut, the one chance to finally earn the recognition he craved, to bridge the chasm between himself and the villagers. The night air was cool against his face as he moved, a small, determined shadow darting through the village. The thrill of the forbidden, the intoxicating promise of power propelled him forward. He found the scroll, heavy and ancient, its parchment rough beneath his fingers. It felt like destiny, a tangible piece of the future he so desperately yearned for. He clutched it tight, a desperate hope blooming in his chest, and vanished into the forest, ready to claim his future.
The unveiling of a burden.
The forbidden scroll, heavy with the promise of power, was a beacon in Naruto's hands as he fled into the moonlit forest. His breath hitched with a mix of desperate hope and the exhilarating fear of being caught. He ran, branches whipping past, the rough bark of ancient trees blurring into dark streaks. But the chase was relentless. Behind him, a familiar presence, swift and determined, closed the distance.
Naruto, stop right there!
Iruka-sensei, his voice, usually a mix of exasperation and weary patience, was now sharp with urgency, cutting through the night. Naruto pushed harder, his small legs pumping, the scroll clutched tight to his chest. He couldn't stop. Not now. Not when recognition felt so tantalizingly close. But then, a sudden, jarring halt. Iruka-sensei was there, blocking his path, his silhouette stark against the pale moonlight filtering through the canopy.
The clearing was bathed in a ghostly silver light, the air still and heavy, as if holding its breath. The usual symphony of the forest, the rustle of leaves, the distant calls of unseen creatures had fallen silent, replaced by a profound, unsettling quiet. It was the kind of silence that pressed in on you, making every heartbeat feel too loud. And then, another figure emerged from the deep shadows, stepping into the moonlight. It was Mizuki. His presence, once a comforting offer of a second chance, now felt wrong.
Mizuki stood tall, his dark hair a stark frame around a face that, in this eerie light, seemed to twist into something cruel. His usual kind smile was gone, replaced by a thin, predatory grin that stretched too wide. His eyes, usually warm, now held a cold, calculating glint, like polished steel. He wore the standard shinobi uniform, but somehow on him it seemed to hang heavier, darker, almost menacing. The air around him seemed to crackle with a subtle, unpleasant energy, a low hum that vibrated just beneath the skin.
Mizuki, now sharp and taunting. "Iruka, you fool! Why are you protecting him?"
Mizuki's voice, once so smooth and inviting, was now laced with a venomous contempt that made Naruto flinch. He pointed a finger not at the scroll, but directly at Naruto. "Don't you know what he is?" The third Hokage made a decree, forbidding anyone from speaking of it. But I'll tell you, Naruto is the nine-tailed demon fox, the monster that destroyed our village 12 years ago. He's the reason your parents are dead, Iruka.
A sudden, absolute silence. It wasn't just the forest that fell quiet. It felt as though the entire world had ceased to breathe. The words hung in the air, heavy and cold, like shards of ice. Naruto's mind reeled, the truth a brutal, physical blow. He felt a deep, guttural roar, not from outside, but from within him. A raw, immense, ancient malice, a raw, terrifying power that vibrated through his very bones. His own ragged, shallow breathing was the only sound he could truly hear, a desperate gasp for air in a world that had just shattered around him.
Iruka, too, stood frozen, his face a mask of shock, then dawning horror. The truth, forbidden for so long, had been cruelly unveiled.
The first ray of acceptance.
The world had just fractured. Mizuki's cruel words, the monstrous roar echoing from within, had left Naruto reeling, exposed and terrified. He stood, a small, trembling figure, the weight of a hidden burden crushing him. Mizuki, his face contorted with malice, raised a massive shuriken, its sharp edges glinting in the pale moonlight, aimed directly at Naruto. The air crackled with a sudden, deadly tension. Naruto's eyes, wide with terror, saw the glint, heard the whisper of death hurtling towards him. He braced himself, a desperate, futile instinct. But then, a blur of motion. A familiar form, strong and resolute, lunged forward.
A sharp, piercing whoosh as the shuriken flies. A visceral, heavy thud as it strikes flesh. Iruka-sensei's sharp, pained grunt.
Iruka-sensei. He had thrown himself in front of Naruto, his back now a shield, the shuriken embedded deep within his flesh. A gasp tore from Naruto's throat, a sound of pure, disbelieving horror. The pain in Iruku's voice was clear, But then something else emerged, something that cut through the terror and the lingering echoes of the Nine-Tails' roar.
Iruka, voice, strained but firm, filled with a profound warmth. Why? Why would you do that, Mizuki? Naruto, he's not the Nine-Tails. He's Naruto Uzumaki. He's a student of the Hidden Leaf Village.
The words, simple yet profound, struck Naruto with a force greater than any physical blow. He's Naruto Uzumaki. Not a monster, not a demon, just Naruto. The world, which had just shattered, began to slowly, impossibly knit itself back together. A warmth, unfamiliar and overwhelming, bloomed in his chest, chasing away the cold grip of fear and loneliness.
Iruka, voice, softer now, but unwavering. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes. But he's trying. He's trying so hard. And he's my student. I believe in him.
Iruka-sensei's voice, though pained, was filled with a sincerity that resonated deep within Naruto's very soul. It was the first time, the very first time someone had truly looked at him, truly seen him, and truly believed. The weight of 12 years of scorn, of whispers, of being an outcast, began to lift, replaced by a fragile, overwhelming sense of belonging. A tear, hot and unexpected, traced a path down Naruto's cheek, a testament to the raw, aching relief that flooded him. It was the first ray of acceptance, a beacon in the profound darkness of his young life.
The roar of a new beginning.
The warmth of Iruka-sensei's words, the raw, undeniable belief in his eyes, ignited something deep within Naruto. It was a spark, long dormant, now roaring to life. The fear, the loneliness, the crushing weight of being the Nine-Tails host. For a precious, fleeting moment, it all faded. All that remained was a fierce, unyielding determination. He would not let Iruka-sensei down. He would prove himself worthy of that belief.
A low internal hum begins to build, subtle at first, then growing in intensity, like a powerful current gathering. It's the sound of chakra, raw and immense, swirling within Naruto. A faint, almost primal growl can be heard, deep within the hum, quickly suppressed.
Mizuki, still reeling from Iruka's defiance, lunged forward, another shuriken whistling through the air. But this time, Naruto didn't flinch. He channeled the energy, the raw, untamed power that had always been a burden, but now felt like a gift. He remembered the hand signs from the Forbidden Scroll, the complex movements that had seemed impossible just moments ago. His fingers, guided by a newfound clarity, moved with a speed he didn't know he possessed.
A rapid, rhythmic series of sharp snaps and whooshes as Naruto performs the hand signs with incredible speed. A single strained poof sound, then another, and another, quickly multiplying.
Multi-shadow clone jutsu! He roared, his voice no longer desperate, but filled with the raw, triumphant power. The clearing exploded. Not one, not two, but dozens, then hundreds of Narutos materialized in a cacophony of multiplying poof sounds. They filled the space, a swirling, orange-clad army, each one a perfect, solid duplicate. The sheer number was overwhelming, a physical manifestation of his boundless, untamed chakra.
The multiplying poof sounds continue, creating an auditory wave. This is immediately followed by a chaotic symphony of rapid footsteps, multiple grunts of effort, and the percussive thud-thud-thud of countless impacts. Mizuki's surprised, then pained shouts are drowned out by the overwhelming assault. Mizuki, caught completely off guard, could only stare in disbelief. His taunts died in his throat as the orange tide crashed over him. Punches rained down from every direction. Kicks landed with sickening thuds. He was swarmed, overwhelmed, buried beneath a relentless, joyous assault. Each blow was a testament to Naruto's newfound strength, each impact a release of years of pent-up frustration and longing. The chaotic sounds of the assault reach a crescendo, then abruptly cut off with a final heavy thud as Mizuki collapses. A moment of profound, almost triumphant silence follows only by the ragged, exhilarated breathing of a single Naruto. And then it was over. Mizuki lay defeated, a crumpled heap on the forest floor. Naruto stood, chest heaving, a wide, genuine grin finally spreading across his face. He had done it. He had not only learned a forbidden jutsu, but he had mastered it, used it, and won. The moon high above seemed to shine brighter, illuminating the path of a ninja who had just found his first true purpose.
The forest clearing, moments ago a battlefield of multiplying shadows and raw power, now held a different kind of intensity. Mizuki lay unconscious, defeated. Naruto stood, still trembling slightly from the surge of chakra, but his chest swelled with a feeling he had never known, the profound warmth of Iruka-sensei's belief. He looked at his teacher, whose back was still a testament to his sacrifice, the dark stain on his flak jacket a stark reminder of the shuriken's impact. Iruka-sensei turned, his movements slow, deliberate, as if each one carried immense weight. His eyes, though still reflecting the pain of his wound, held a deep, knowing gaze that met Naruto's. He reached up, his hand moving not to his injury, but to his own forehead. The metal plate, etched with the swirling symbol of the hidden leaf, gleamed dully in the moonlight. This was the forehead protector, the mark of a true ninja, worn with pride by every shinobi of Konoha. He removed it, slowly, reverently. The simple piece of cloth and metal, usually a casual accessory, now seemed to radiate the weight of countless battles, of unwavering loyalty, of a life dedicated to the village. Naruto watched, his breath caught in his throat, unsure what was happening. Was this a punishment? A final dismissal? Iruka-sensei, soft, gentle, but firm with conviction. Naruto, close your eyes. Naruto obeyed, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He felt the soft brush of fabric against his forehead, then the cool, smooth press of metal. A gentle touch, adjusting, securing. It was light, yet it felt heavier than anything he had ever carried. Now, open them. He did. And in Iruka-sensei's eyes, he saw not the usual exasperation, not the pity, not the fear. He saw pride, and reflected in the polished surface of the metal plate now tied firmly around his own forehead, he saw the swirling symbol of the hidden leaf, his own headband. Iruka-sensei had given him his headband. The unspoken message was clear. He had passed. He was a ninja. The tears that had welled up before now streamed freely, hot and cleansing. This wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was acceptance. It was belonging. It was the first tangible proof that he was seen, that he was valued, that he was Naruto Uzumaki, a ninja of the hidden leaf. Later, back in the academy, the air was different. The other teachers, who had once looked at him with veiled apprehension, now offered subtle nods, quiet smiles. No words were needed. Their expressions, once guarded, now held a shared understanding, a quiet acknowledgement of his perseverance. He had not only succeeded, but he had done so alongside his peers, a part of something, finally. The orange jacket, once a defiant statement of his isolation, now felt like the uniform of a ninja, a symbol of his new beginning.